So hi, I'm Alex Hern. I'm a features writer at The Guardian. What can games learn from musicals? This is my thing. Like, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none because I'm a journalist, and that's what we do. So I'm trying to draw these links, draw these connections, and one of the connections is games and musicals. I love both these things. They're both good. Someone can learn from each other. People sing. People kill people. Sometimes people make art about people who kill people too much. Sometimes people make art about people who sing too much. Musicals aren't either of them. You can tell because people don't sing too much. Musicals are about people who are lions. They are about horny Greek gods. They are about sentient Hornby trains told through the medium of singing too much. You can tell that. You can tell that that's true, except it's not, because you can't say that people in a musical are singing too much. It doesn't make sense. It's an incoherent critique. It's like saying a comic book has too many pictures. Some people don't like musicals because they don't like a medium in which a story is told through song, and that's fine too. A lot of people don't like musicals. A lot of people don't get them. They get weirded out by them. If you don't like a musical, cool, watch something else. They're not here for you. You don't have to be here for them. We can just go our separate ways, and the next 30 slides will probably not be your thing. But let's talk about the new Jungle Book. The new Jungle Book is amazing. It's a gorgeous film. It's one of those films that is almost entirely CG in a way that gets it right. It avoids the uncanny valley. It has an absolutely amazing performance from the lead actor. But it completely drops the ball as a musical. It not only drops the ball, it pops it with a stiletto heel and then just sings an aria for its untimely demise. There are no songs in about the first quarter of the Jungle Book. And then Mowgli, lovable human Mowgli, meets Baloo, lovable bear Baloo. And Baloo is humming a song. And Mowgli asks him, what's that? What are you doing? What's that? And Baloo goes, it's a song. The song Baloo's humming is the Bare Necessities, because Disney loves cross-brand marketing, even when those two brands are both the Jungle Book. And that's fine, okay. Mowgli, we learn, was brought up by wolves. Wolves don't have songs, wolves are serious. They are team players, but all they have are mantras, which Mowgli dutifully repeats. Something about being part of a family, part of a pride, part of a herd, whatever wolves are. Facts. And that's fine, that's a good way to go. But then you meet this guy, King Louie, Christopher Walken. What is a great King Louie? But the problem with King Louie starts singing a song. And it's not like when Baloo sings the Bare Necessities. King Louie just starts singing. He starts singing, and for 3 minutes, the film is a musical. The film in which, 20 minutes earlier, a lead character has asked what is a song in response to another character singing a song, is a musical. And no one comments. No one says, why is this monkey singing while he's destroying things? No, it's just a thing. King Louie is in a completely different film from every other character, and it's incredibly jarring. You can't draw attention to the fact that a musical is a musical in a musical unless you are happy with it being a musical. There's a composer, but the composer isn't the person who's important. What's important is the story being told, and separately what's important is the music. But the two, if they're going to meet, have to be very, very careful. There are exceptions. Of course there are exceptions. This is a confidence trick with nothing to back it up. In The Lion King's case, if you do it well, that's fine. The most obvious ones are musicals that fit the Chicago mold. So they're musicals about music. It includes some in world performances and some that are merely representative. The classic music thing of two characters singing to each other because they're in love, and they're not really singing very well, but it's okay because everyone gets it, because that's what musicals are. When they do work, they work to establish the two separate aspects through stage and setting, and they never ever draw attention to the weirdness of the fact that the rest of the narrative is being sung. That's Hamilton. Some of you are here because of Hamilton. I love Hamilton. Hamilton is great. It's also an interesting exception. It opens with a song about how young Alexander wrote his way out of the Isle of Nevis, where he was born, where his mother was killed, where his father left him, where a hurricane tore in, and where he put a pencil to his temple, connected it to his brain, wrote his first refrain, a testament to his pain. And now word got around and they said this kid is insane, man. They took up a collection just to send him to the mainland, and so on and so forth. Hamilton wrote a song in a musical. It's not a song, it's a poem, but in musical language it's the same thing. And that's represented in Hamilton. I mean, if Jordan wants to do the whole damn thing, this is one of Hamilton's first large refrains. And what Lin-Manuel Miranda says about this is, this was Hamilton's first real chance to show himself to the other characters. This happens in a song called My Shop. This is Hamilton talking to the other members of the American Revolution very early on in the Revolution's days about how he wants to join them. He wants to become a man. He wants to become not only a man, he wants to become a hero. He wants to become essentially a founding father. Lin-Manuel represents Hamilton's verbosity through the language of the musical. So you have, I mean, you can see some lines there. Trying to reach my goal, my power of speech unimpeachable. Only 19, but my mind is older. These New York City streets getting colder. I shoulder every burden as a disadvantage. I've learned to manage it, and I've gone to brand. Anyway, I can't do that bit because that's too hard. Because the medium of the song tells you the character not just through the words, but through the style of music. That's an absolutely tremendous example of merging the two aspects of a musical, merging the plot, merging the story, merging the characterization, and merging the songs. Another one is Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim's a musical. As a tangent, it's just got no songs. Instead of songs, it has fights. But it straddles exactly the same lines as other musicals. It can't draw attention to the fights because then it seems weird, but it can't not acknowledge that there are fights because then it seems weird. In many people's minds, it does cross this line. To many people's minds, Scott Pilgrim is a deeply weird film / manga. I love it, and part of the reason why I love it is because it takes that line. It takes, am I a film in which people are literally being punched into a cloud of coins, which the main character, or is this a metaphor like it is in a musical? Yeah, it's both. It works. I love it. Every song's a fight scene. You'll pick it up. Watch it again. Pilgrim lampshades the problem. The joke is the ridiculousness of the problem. At the same time, everyone comments how Scott has to defeat them, but no one actually brings up how weird it is for Scott to have street fights, because that, for Scott Pilgrim, would cross the line. This is a games talk. This isn't a musicals talk. I don't like musicals. The point is that Jake Tucker is wrong about games. So, I mean, this is also, I guess, a slight theme of Uncharted 4, kind of unfairly getting critiqued. Uncharted 4 is a good game. Jake Tucker is mostly right about Uncharted 4, but Nathan Drake is a dick. Nathan Drake kills over 1,000 people in the Uncharted franchise. Criticizing an action video game for how much action there is silly. It would be like criticizing a musical for how much music there is, but Nathan Drake really shoots a ton of people. The game can help or hinder itself in how that killing is perceived, and at times the Uncharted franchise veers a bit much towards the Jungle Book end of the spectrum. This is Lazarevich hanging a lampshade on it. He's saying, Nathan Drake, you're a dick. Stop it. Stop killing people. You can see what Naughty Dog were trying to do with this. They were trying to acknowledge that they were aware of the problem, and this is the baddie. Like, you're not supposed to agree with him. At the same time, it's kind of a problem because he's right, and it's a dicey game to play, giving the baddie lines in which he insults your main character, your heroic main character, and is right when he does it. That's the crucial line. I'm trying to own the problem, but the game doesn't take the actual answer, which is something like 1,800 people, and run with it. The game is addressing its problem, but it's the Jungle Book. It's like they went, how would Mowgli know a song? He's been raised by wolves. Let's put a line in to explain that, forgetting that 2 scenes later, Mowgli sits and watches a giant ape destroy a temple while he sings a song and no one cares. This. I mean, this is what half of games criticism essentially is. It's, do I need to, no. Lunar Narrative Dissidence comes from Clint Hocking, who wrote about it in 2010. His problem was Bioshock. Bioshock is a game where the game aspect of it tells you, get power, be strong, seek power, your progress. And the story tells you, help Atlas in your progress. And those 2 aspects of the game don't work, and that was to Clint Lunar Narrative Dissonance. I mean, it's Babby's first criticism. It's boring, it's overplayed, it's Babby's first criticism. It's also used wrongly. Like, people mostly these days use it to mean someone's saying something, but it's not really reflecting the game. It's not deep engagement with the narrative, but at the same time, it works. It's something that people feel deeply and intrinsically is wrong in games, even if they can't say it. To be fair to Naughty Dog, this is one of the trophies in Uncharted 4. They know it. They bloody know what they're doing, and they don't care. Uncharted 4's director says he doesn't care. He compares Nathan Drake to Indiana Jones. Obviously he does, because Nathan Drake is Indiana Jones. They just couldn't afford the licensing fees, I assume. Indiana Jones kills a dozen at least over the course of several movies. The problem is he's answered his own question. It is the number. A dozen is the sort of thing that you can take in a heightened reality and go, okay, this is an action film. 1,800 is mass murder. Ludonarrative harmony is the opposite of ludonarrative dissonance, I assume. Ludonarrative harmony is when the gameplay and narrative are aligned. But what does that actually mean? What does it mean for gameplay and narrative to be aligned? The obvious one is that the narrative is reflected in the gameplay and vice versa. You got FIFA, but FIFA goes wrong. Games go wrong. In FIFA, the goal is not to... That's not the goal of FIFA. Is that ludonarrative dissonance or harmony or yeah. But the problem is even the simplest game, because they are games, because they are complex, even the simplest game can have these divides between narrative and harmony. So maybe the next thing is the general game model. The narrative is largely reflected in gameplay, but with broad understood exemptions. This is the musical model. It works to people who are au fait with the medium. If you watch a musical and go, oh, why are they all singing? That's a fair answer. That's a fair question for anyone to say, but it also shows that you just need to watch a few more musicals and keep watching until you stop asking. Same with games. If you play games and say, why is the character in this action game shooting people so much? Shut up, play a few more games, you'll stop asking, and then cool, I guess. Even that has problems. That is not one of the broadly understood exemptions. That is a little bit, it's not ludonarrative dissonance, but it's dissonance. You have a character who is sold as a relatively normal human who gets hit by a truck and, well, I mean, you can't see because I cut it, but walks it off. But we're learning from musicals. What do musicals tell us? Musicals tell us that there are other ways of doing it. One is the once more with feeling model. I thought I had more musicals. Once more with feeling is the Buffy musical. In the Buffy musical, Buffy and co are cursed to sing. There is none of the normal musical sleight of hand. Every character knows they're in a musical, is deeply freaked out by the fact that they're singing all the time, and it is explicitly referenced all the bloody time, because, hey, even Joss Whedon doesn't really think he can just get away with having an episode where people sing and expecting the primetime TV audience of America to sit down and take it. So it's the plot, and that's fine. There are games that do that. The second is the Chicago model. That's the model where the music happens both in the obvious times, like when a character is on stage in a performance, and in a few well understood to the audience that's expected exceptions. Love songs. That's fine. Both characters are singing to each other. You're kind of meant to understand that that's dialogue between them and it's their inner thoughts. It also works because people are already used to on stage concepts like soliloquy is happening. It's not supposed to be a literal representation of the reality of the world, but nonetheless it filters through and it has some times when it works. But the third model is the Hamilton model, where there is a harmony through the interplay of music and narrative, but not through the similarity of either of them. Hamilton is a musical where the Founding Fathers rap. There's no harmony there. There's no obvious link. It should have dissonance. It should be wrong. You should, as some of the people who said when they first heard about it, go, huh? What? The Founding Fathers wouldn't rap? They're not black. They're white. They're old. They're racist. It doesn't matter because it works. And it works because it takes that dissonance and it uses it and it runs with it until it becomes the very point of what you're seeing. The point of Hamilton is that these old racist white dudes are transformed into young modern Americans. It says to the audience that it's showed to in New York and eventually here, you're like them as well. You own America as well. That's why Thomas Jefferson's the dick even Hamilton. That's why Alexander Hamilton is rapping. That's why he's played by a young Puerto Rican immigrant. Because you own America. America is yours. So maybe you can have that in games. That's what I want games to take from musicals. That you can have narrative and gameplay so clearly separate as to avoid dissonance altogether. There are a few games that have done this. One is Little Braid. Braid when I first played it, I didn't like it because most of the narrative of the game is presented through little scrolls that you read in between the levels, and then you go away and play Mario, and then you come back and you read some scrolls, and then you go away and play Mario, and it's Puzzle Mario, so it's fun, but I didn't get it. But now I do. Braid doesn't ask you to invest in the story of a floppy-head hero stomping Goombas and investigating castles, nor try to work out how it maps one-on-one with the narrative. Instead, they are thematically linked. Braid is a story about time, about turning back time, about wishing you could undo your mistakes, linked with a story about the same. And that Dragon Cancer. It doesn't do it as directly, and it's not something that I'm comfortable espousing on here, because I don't want to ever read anything into it, because it's just not a game that I want to make jokes about on stage. But it does a very similar thing. There is a dissonance between the gameplay and what the game is actually about, which works, which turns into harmony. They're not AAA titles because in a world that's trending towards realism on consoles, you probably won't sell 1 million copies of a game where a floppy-haired guy reads books and turns back time, and you're expected to see a link between the two. But, this is also a world where a bunch of immigrants rap on stage and tell you the story of Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of Treasury of the United States, so just you wait.